What's up everyone? Mike from Flight Club. It's currently winter here and it's way too cold to fly outside. I've been looking for something that can fly in a backyard track or in my house. The most obvious choice would be the old 65mm tiny hoop that I built last year. Yeah, it's fun, but I wanted something with a little more power and I can fly rate mode. I know the tiny hoop has rate mode, but it's almost impossible to fly. It's way too twitchy and underpowered. So before we take a look at the quads that I'll be reviewing, let's talk about what a tiny hoop is for someone who isn't into FPV yet but wants to get into flying. So a tiny hoop is a small light quadcopter fitted with a camera and a video transmitter. Most of these tiny hoops are in the 25 to 50 gram range with these prop guards, so they're safe to fly anywhere. I mean, anyone can fly these. You can even fly these inside your house, messing with your dog, messing with your house guests. It won't hurt anything because they're so light. They're great for people who are getting into flying FPV or seasoned pilots who are looking for more stick time in bad weather. So I've been looking at the bigger 75mm tiny hoop quads and I narrowed them down to three. The Inductrix Fpv Plus, the Bold Clash B06, and the Beta Fpv Beta 75. I'll be determining which one of these quads is best based on three criteria: flight, or how well they fly, price, and fun factor. Alright, so let's go over each one of these and I'll talk about the specs while I'm opening them up. We will start with the Inductrix Fpv. Alright, so the Inductrix Fpv, let's just open it up and I'll show you what's inside. So you get the Inductrix, so you can see that these are the 75mm tiny hoops. So they're quite a little bit bigger than the old original tiny hoops. These are 65mm and these are around 75mm. So I'll put them side by side. You can see they're a little bit bigger. Alright, so with this one you get the instructions. You get a 1 cell 3.7 volt 500 milliamp battery, 25C, which is pretty weak. And then you get a little tiny USB charger, little 5 volt 500 milliamp charger. Pretty standard, but they take forever to charge. We'll get into that later. So the Inductrix Fpv Plus, they cost about $140 for this. You get a quad, one battery, and a charger. They're 75mm from shaft to shaft. They weigh 48 grams for the quad and one battery. And then these use the bigger 8x20mm motors on 40mm quad blades. And it runs on a non-configurable Inductrix firmware, meaning you can't plug this into the computer and tune it or set any settings. And these have to run on the Spectrum radio bands. So if you're using Taranis, you have to use one of these little modules that plug into the back of your Taranis that lets you use the Spectrum band to connect to the Inductrix. And with this battery, you get around 5 minutes of flight time. So this one is the Bold Clash B06. Let's see what's inside it. So you get the quad itself, and you get one 3.7 volt 450 milliamp 1 cell battery. You get a spare clear canopy, a little micro USB, a little prop remover tool, and you get some spare 40mm tri-blade props, red and white. And then this is the manual for the XM FR Sky receiver. And then you get the manual, which I've never read. And then you have a little, looks like a little tiny USB charger that's selectable from 200 milliamp to 500 milliamp charge current. And it looks like it takes two. You can connect two types of batteries in it. Alright, so the Bold Clash B06 is 110 for this setup, what I just showed you. And it's a 77mm quad, and it's 41 grams for the quad and this battery. And the unique thing about this quad is that the motors on this one are brushless, not like the Inductrix, which uses the brush motors. This one uses a tiny little 0703 15,000 kV brushless motor on 40 millimeter tri-blades. It runs on Betaflight, so that makes setting this thing up really easy. It has a little tiny USB, micro USB port on the bottom right here, so all you do is plug it up into your computer, turn on Betaflight, and you set this up exactly like you would set up a regular quad running a flight controller that runs on Betaflight. And then the cool thing about this one, you can use pretty much any radio system with it. You can use the FR Sky, which this one is running because it has a little XM Plus in here. Or I mean an XM. You can use Spectrum, Futaba, Fly Sky, or even get one without a receiver if you want to hook up your own. And with this battery, you get around 4 minutes of flight time. And then the last one is this one is the Beta FPV Beta 75. Let's see what's inside. So with the Beta 75, this is pretty much all you get. You get a quad and you get one battery. Pretty simple. No instructions or anything. All the instruction manuals are on their website, but we'll get into that later. So the Beta 75 with this setup, just the quad and one battery, is about 93 bucks on Amazon. It's a 75 millimeter quad and weighs 39 grams with one battery. It uses the 7x20 millimeter 1750 kV motors. These are brush motors, not like the Bolt Clash. And then it uses the standard, or not standard, but just these little tiny stick batteries. This one I'm using a 260 milliamp 1S HV, meaning you can charge it above the normal 4.2 volts. This one is a 4.37 30C 60C bursts. And the Beta 75 can use pretty much any receiver, just like the Bolt Clash. I'm running an XM on this one because I'm using FR Sky, but you can use the Spectrum, Futaba, Fly Sky, or even without a receiver. And the cool thing about this one is that it runs Betaflight with OSD. So when you get it, it doesn't have any instructions, but it's really easy to set up. You set it up exactly like a normal quad. You just plug your USB in here, and then, well, actually, before you plug it in, you have to bind it. So the binding procedure is exactly the same as setting up a regular quad. Put your Taranis in bind mode, and I think you go to the mode D8 instead of D16, and then you just push the little bind button on the receiver, and then you plug in your battery at the same time, and it's bound. And then once it's bound, you can just plug this into your computer, pull up Betaflight, and then you can set up all your settings, set up your modes, set up your you can tune your PIDs from the computer or from the Betaflight OSD, and then you can set up what you want to display in your OSD also. And with this setup, with this battery on a hard, if you're flying it pretty hard, you get about 2 minutes 30 seconds. Alright, so out of these three, the Inductrix easily has the most thrust because of the 8x20 motors, and it's running quad blades, whereas the other two are running tri blades. I'd say the thrust on the BL6 and the Beta 75 are about the same, which is surprising because the weight on these two are roughly the same, but the BL6 is running brushless motors. I'm not sure why this one is so underpowered, but when you fly in angle mode, they all feel pretty much the same, except the weight on the Inductrix is more noticeable. It feels like it pushes around the corners a little bit more just because it's a little bit heavier. The most noticeable difference comes when you fly in acro mode. The Inductrix, being the most powerful, you'd think would fly the best in acro, but it's actually not. On the default acro mode, it's nearly useless because the rates are much too high. It goes from like 0 to 100 with just about like 25% stick movement, so it feels very, very twitchy, and it's almost impossible to control. I'm sure you could go in and tweak the settings in the Taranis to bring the rates down, but for me, it's just not worth the trouble, and I'll get into why later. The BL6 and the Beta 75 fly very similar in acro mode. Because they both use beta flight, you can easily tune the PIDs on the computer for the BL6 or the computer and the beta flight OSD from the OSD on the Beta 75. I found that they both fly really well on stock PIDs with just the rates turned down. They both feel a little bit underpowered for acro, but I'm sure with more stick time you can get used to it. But so for flyability, I'd give the edge to the BL6. So for price wise, the Inductrix is $140, Bolt Clash is $110, and the Beta FPV is $93. So this category is easy. The Beta FPV is the most wallet friendly out of the bunch. Even the batteries it uses are these cheap stick batteries that cost about $3.25 each. I got a box of 8 of these, the 260 milliamps on Amazon for like $27 for 8. The batteries that the Bolt Clash uses are, where is it? This one. These are about $6 to $7. You get pretty good flight time out of it, but I'd rather buy a whole bunch of cheaper batteries. And then the Inductrix battery is about $10, which is crazy expensive for a tiny hoop battery. So I did a calculation based on retail price, how much it would cost to get the quad with 6 batteries. So the Beta FPV would cost $109, the Bolt Clash would be $145, and the Inductor is $190. You could almost build a 3-inch race quad for that price. So price wise, it's easy. The Beta Flight or Beta FPV wins. So this brings us to our last criteria, the fun factor. To me, this is the most important factor. The fastest, most powerful quad is not always the most fun. Tiny whoops are not about going balls out fast. To me, tiny whoops are about launching search and destroy missions around the house, annoying your dog safely, or setting up a racetrack using chairs, appliances, and sofa cushions so you can race your friends when it's raining outside or like 20 degrees outside. It's just good immature adult fun. That's what the tiny hoops are about. Out of this bunch, the Beta FPV Beta 75 is the winner. It's not the most powerful, but it's definitely fun. Being able to run beta flight makes it super easy to set up and tune. I really like how you can add your own receiver or choose whatever you want. Like you just use an XM Plus, you can use a Taranis without needing one of these little goofy modules to fly your Inductrix. You can just set up a model in your Taranis, bind it, and then you can just fly this easily. And it's super cheap too. You can get this Beta 75 on Amazon for $93. You can get an 8-pack of batteries for like $27. And then I even got this sweet little charger for like $16. This is the Crazed Pony charger. Beta FPV has their own charger too, right here. But I like the Crazed Pony better. Both of them are pretty similar, except the Crazed Pony has more features. Like over here, you can select the charge current. You can select if it's regular voltage or HV. You can select a 0.6 amp charge or a 0.2 charge. And then this even has a little USB 5-volt USB out, so you can like connect your phone over here while you're charging your batteries. You can charge your phone too. And it can take voltages from like 6 volts to 26 volts. I mean, the Beta FPV one is similar, but it just has less features. You can only select HV or regular, and then on off. That's pretty much it. So I mean, this was like $18. I got this for like $16 on Amazon. So it's got more features and it's cheaper. It's awesome. If you're looking for something you can fly around the house that's easy to set up, loaded with features, tons of fun, pretty cheap, take a look at the Beta FPV Beta 75. I think you'll really like it. And as always, thanks for watching, and if you found this video helpful, please don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. I've got a whole bunch of cool videos coming up, and thanks for watching.